Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Venetia. If you are new here, I really love slow fashion. I didn't come out of the womb wearing recycled hemp. I am very much a recovering fast fashion addict, and I've spent the past 4 years raising awareness about the impacts of fashion on our planet and more specifically on people. Today I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that have been happening in the UK specifically to do with the fast fashion conversation. Some really exciting things, but issues that I think require a little bit of nuance and some depth. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. If you hate long form content, do follow me on Instagram and TikTok, which is where I talk about these issues much more succinctly. But if you're in for a bit of a chat, you've come to the right place. I want to start by telling you about a podcast that I recently gobbled up in less than a week, and it is co-presented by Pandora Sykes and Shireen Karle, and it's called Unreal, and it is an exploration of the impacts of reality TV over the past 20 years. Now, I know a lot of people can be a little bit snobby about various reality TV shows, and what I love about this podcast so much is that it explains and explores so deeply just how impactful reality TV has been in all its forms over the past 2 decades. Even if you think you don't like it, it will have impacted you and influenced you in some way. And they go into the kind of real nuances of our relationship with reality TV and how a disdain for it can be a little bit classist. And I think it is foolish to dismiss reality TV altogether. Of course, there are good sides and bad sides of it, again, which is why this podcast is so amazing. But it would be foolish of us to not accept just how influential it has been. So I want to start by saying that podcast is brilliant and really worth your time. And the reason why it relates to today's conversation is because we're going to be talking about Love Island's recent decision to say goodbye to their fast fashion sponsor in favour of second-hand platform eBay. If you don't know what Love Island is, it is a reality show that was birthed in the UK quite a while ago now, and it is when a group of hot, sexy, young singles get together for 2 months every summer in a villa in Mallorca to find love and really to launch their careers when they get out. So often you will see a reality star come out of the villa and gain lots of attention and money and fame, and often sign with fast fashion brands. So Love Island's relationship to fast fashion is undeniable. Many of the former contestants have gone on to work with fast fashion brands, most notably Molly May Hague has gone on to become the creative director of Pretty Little Thing, following many lucrative contracts with them. She reportedly earns a 6-figure salary every single month, and she has a lot of power to influence many people to buy pieces that they might not need. So it is really important to see how these two things are linked. In the past, Love Island have collaborated with brands including I Saw It First, which is a very fast fashion brand, and also Missguided. A couple of years ago in 2019, Missguided, never has a name been more apt for a brand, launched a £1 bikini, which was a black string bikini that was made from 100% virgin polyester during Love Island, and it created a lot of outrage online. Missguided specifically chose to launch that bikini during Love Island because when we watch Love Island, we want to be wearing skimpy clothes, we want to be in Mallorca in the sun, and we want to have all of this kind of hot girl summer that these contestants are experiencing. What Love Island has done really successfully over the past couple of years is create and build partnerships with brands in ways that TV has not done before. And these are highly lucrative partnerships for a TV channel like ITV. This show creates a lot of revenue, and a lot of that is from brand partnerships. And then how it goes on to launch the careers of reality stars turned influencers is really fascinating as well. This year Love Island announced that they were forgoing their fast fashion partnerships like they have done in the past with I Saw It First and Missguided in favour of a partnership with eBay. Now, what this represents is a really significant change in current. It feels like the tide is turning. Now, this isn't to let a show like Love Island off the hook. I think they are directly responsible for inordinate amounts of clothing waste, clothes that are predominantly ending up in the global south, places like Kantamanto Market and Accra in Ghana. Check out this video if you want to learn more. They are responsible for that clothing and they're doing nothing to clear it up. So I want to preface this by saying I am disappointed that there is no sense of accountability from Love Island for this waste and for this exploitation. But their decision to partner with eBay, which is a resale platform, is hugely exciting. And in the slow fashion community, we don't have all that much to celebrate. We have to take the wins where possible. It's the same with all social justice spaces. I think it's really, really important to take the wins because they don't come around that often. What this signifies is a change in conversation, right? It shows finally a sense of awareness from Love Island, and it shows a kind of normalization of secondhand clothing, which is super, super important because we really drastically need to move to a space where we're producing around 90 to 95% less. We need to be kind of celebrating degrowth and really kind of wherever we can moving away from this kind of horrendous consumption that we have been participating in for decades. So this is a win and this is exciting, and this shows that secondhand is becoming more mainstream, which is more important than ever. All of the Love Island contestants are now wearing secondhand clothing, which is a huge change. My friend Brett Stallerland was on the series last summer in 2021, and he has amazing insights into how much clothing there was being handed out for free to the contestants so that they always looked fresh, and to encourage us at home to buy more. I will leave an article with him right here that you can check out if you want to read more. So the fact that they're all wearing secondhand clothing from eBay that has been selected for them by a sustainable stylist, who I will also link here, is really, really brilliant. And watching it, what's kind of interesting about it is that it shows you can't really tell, right? So I think this is a really important way to show the kind of Love Island viewership that you can still have that hot girl fast fashion look without buying into new fast fashion. Fast fashion have produced so much at this point that of course there is enough fast fashion to go around, or fast fashion looking clothes to go around, because the way they have overproduced is just utterly mind-blowing. eBay now have a feature where you can go on the app and search for summer clothing that is all pre-loved, which is amazing to see. But there wasn't overall all that much eBay advertising. What I would say is there seems to be a lot of kind of like Amazon linked products on eBay, which is personally the reason why I wouldn't promote eBay as kind of a go-to secondhand platform. That's not to say that I haven't found some gems over the years on eBay, and I definitely think it's a great platform to be utilised, but I personally would prefer to kind of amplify brands like Vestiaire Collective, who don't have ties to Amazon and that kind of thing. But this does signify a really, really cool change. The only disappointing thing for me was during the ad breaks, there was an advert for I Saw It First, which was really weird and really off. Love Island have done such a kind of big press push for the fact that they are partnering with eBay, and it was just disappointing to see. Another thing that is kind of slightly concerning is how Missguided have recently gone into administration. So they've been struggling since the end of 2021. And the cynic in me is slightly concerned that neither Missguided or I Saw It First had enough money to partner with Love Island on this series. I don't know if that is just me being cynical. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but that is in the back of my mind. eBay have been around for a very long time. They clearly have enough money for this partnership. And I'm just trying to hold on to the fact that it shows a shift in current more widely, which is really important, and we love to see that. It doesn't mean that we don't have loads of work to do, but we're taking the wins anyway. Now to talk to you a little bit about Missguided. Missguided went into administration and they have left the livelihoods of garment makers and people in their supply chain in the balance. These garment makers had been calling them for months. They even turned up outside their office asking where their money was, and Missguided stopped answering their calls and refused to speak to them, refused to have any communication with them. Now these garment makers are completely out of pocket, out of money. So this is really, really, really awful. And this is just another example, yet again, of a fashion brand taking advantage of the people who make their clothes, the people without whom there simply wouldn't be a fashion brand like Missguided. So currently, the people responsible for this money that is owed to the garment makers are Missguided's main investment companies, which are Teneo and Altieri. And I'm currently teaming up with my friend Maisha from Oh So Ethical and Label Behind the Label to see how we can put pressure on these investment groups to pay the garment makers the money that they're owed. So Missguided went into administration, and then Fraser Group, who are a fashion umbrella group that are owned by one of the richest billionaires in the country. They also own Sports Direct, Jack Wills and House of Fraser and various other fashion brands. They have scooped up Missguided for 20 million. And we've seen this happen before, and what can happen is that Fraser Group can kind of absolve their responsibility to pay up for the millions that is owed to Missguided's garment makers, and instead they will just kind of rebrand Missguided a little bit and start making some money off Missguided. So this could be really, really awful, which is why it's really important for us collectively to keep the pressure on Missguided's main investors, which is Altieri and Teneo, and then also ultimately, if that doesn't work, Fraser Group. So it's been a very, very strange couple of weeks, and I think what's interesting about Missguided being a former Love Island sponsor and also being a brand that kind of has really profited off reality TV and that kind of association and influencer contracts and things like that, is that how quickly they have risen and fallen. And that is simply because the whole entire business model of a brand like Missguided or any really ultra fast fashion brand simply doesn't work. It is totally unsustainable. You will have heard people talk about how fast fashion is eating itself. If you ever kind of listen to slow fashion experts, they will kind of use that phrase, and I think it perfectly describes what has happened to Missguided, this kind of quick rise and quick fall. This brand that was all about marketing. If you watch their Channel 4 documentary Inside Missguided, it's absolutely horrendous. This is really, really difficult watch because it's just so heartbreaking to see a company that has kind of given this false idea that they're based on female empowerment, when in reality they're not paying the people who make these clothes, the majority of whom are women, women of colour as well, fair living wages. There's just this kind of complete disconnect. But we have seen this big rise and fall, and we will continue to see this with other fast fashion brands, because the way they are set up is wholly unsustainable, and it will get harder and harder for them the more legislation that's put in place, which means they cannot be able to continue in the way that they have been in terms of overproduction and in terms of exploitation of their garment makers. So really, really interesting stuff. If there are any actions that I would love your support on to do with Missguided, I will leave them either here in the video or in the description box. It's really important for us to take these wins, but it's also really important for us to keep the pressure on wherever possible. If you see anything dodgy that's coming from Love Island or big fashion brands or white, non-disabled influencers, please do send it to me, and please keep the pressure on. I only ever speak to influencers who are at my intersection. I will never call out, for example, a black influencer for partnering with a fast fashion brand. It's not what I'm here to do, and I'm sure you can understand the nuances of that. So that's just like a side note that's important to bear in mind. To wrap up, I wanted to speak to you about festival dressing, as this is something that we're being marketed a lot by fast fashion brands at the moment, and I know it is festival season, and if you've been here a while, you know how much I love festivals, and I just love dancing with my friends to great music. And I was recently lucky enough to go to a festival, and of course I made it my mission to only wear clothes that I already had, and I wanted to share some of those insights with you because I think some of you will be planning to go to festivals, and I am here to remind you that you do not need to buy new clothes for the festival. The most important thing is that you're actually comfortable. We forget this. You want comfortable shoes that you can dance the night away in. You want to feel warm, you want layers. And if you want a really fun, eye-catching, festival style piece, you can always buy it secondhand or try and find it secondhand. But you probably already have something in your wardrobe that you might not have thought about. I recently went to Gala Festival and brought out my, is it inside out? No. I recently went to Gala Festival and brought out this gorgeous kind of tie-dyed vintage secondhand dress that I have spoken about so much on this channel. I've also worn it so much, but it's a perfect festival piece. And I actually went on some secondhand apps afterwards because I just want to buy more. I haven't yet. I will keep you posted if I do, but there are so many kind of vintagey silk slip style dresses on secondhand apps, which are perfect for things like festivals. And you can also like use them as layering pieces, wear t-shirts underneath them. There's lots of different ways to style them up and wear them throughout the year. So I think they're a really, really good kind of festival piece. And then the other day I just wore jeans and like a cute like crop top and cardi, and just felt really, really comfortable. So I just want to remind you that like comfort is the most important thing at a festival. And then if you are looking for something more jazzy, could you shop your own wardrobe or source it secondhand? You really, really don't need to buy new for a festival. You just don't, like, you don't. Just reminding, just putting that there. And hopefully I'll have some Missguided updates to share with you next. I've had my hair like this overnight, and my hair never holds style, which is why I did it. But oh my gosh, this is wild. I'm gonna try and sort this out. I'm gonna try and find a utensil, not a kitchen utensil, like a comb or something, to bring it down a little bit. And I'll show you what it's like once it's dropped. You may be wondering why I've made an effort with my hair. And that is because I am going to shoot part of a documentary today, or I'm being interviewed for a documentary. I don't know how much I can say about it, but I've literally been in discussions with this production company for what feels like months. In fact, what is months? A little update on our Missguided protests. So we've got one happening in London and one happening in Manchester, and the one in Manchester is going to be, they're going to be going down to Missguided's headquarters because people are still working there, which is absolutely awesome. The fact that we have one happening in the north and the south of the UK, and also the fact that we have suppliers who are willing to come along. Not all of the suppliers are willing to come along for reasons that I completely appreciate and make me feel quite sad, because they're worried about what protesting could do to any future job opportunities for them, and some of them might be transferred, some of their work might be transferred to Boohoo. And it's been really interesting to learn more from Labour Behind the Label about how the people at the top of Missguided probably won't lose any money, and a lot of that money is in offshore funds, so they're probably not paying any tax on it either. So yet another fashion brand that it is corrupt from the inside out. Anyway, today's plan is I'm going to go shoot this interview for this documentary, and that's why I'm trying to have a bit of a chilled morning, if I'm honest, because anytime I have to do a lot of speaking, I find it very, very draining, just because I put so much, so much of myself into it. And so I know I'm going to be tired after this interview. That's why, so this morning, that's why I'm just like getting ready slowly. Probably going to have some pancakes in a little bit. Yeah, I'm just conscious of my energy levels today and tomorrow, because I know that this documentary will zap my energy, just because I'll be excited and put a lot into it. And then on Friday we have the next protest / action, and I remember back in February when we did the Pretty Little Thing
protest. I think it took me out for like 2 weeks afterwards, which I know sounds so silly, like we were there for an hour, but it was like the build up, the nerves, the anxiety, the excitement, and then like how it kind of got a lot of media attention was just very, very nerve-wracking and tiring. I heard Jamila Jamil say this in a podcast before, but it's also like a very, when something gets a lot of media attention, for me at least, it makes me feel very like nervous and shy, and like I feel very overexposed. And I think that's where a lot of my like lack of energy comes from. So I'm just conscious of that this time.
It is Friday the 10th of June. Today is the day of our actions against Missguided in London and Manchester. I am going to the one in, or the ones in London, because we're doing 2, and I have got butterflies. I am nervous. It's always nerve-wracking organising something like this because you just never know how it's going to go, and there are obviously risks involved too. So yeah, completely appreciate if you're watching this and you feel like in-person actions are just too daunting, because they are. But I know once I get there and I see everyone, it will be absolutely fine. And I've been WhatsApping people from Labour Behind the Label and other co-organisers and my friend Maisha this morning, which has been calming my nerves. And I've also been speaking to suppliers on email, and just like hearing some of their stories has been very, like, it's a lot. One supplier had to sell his wife's jewellery in order to pay for the loss that he had suffered because of Missguided and their main investors, Altieri and Teneo. So I've made some placards. I've just got this one, pay your workers first. And then I have a quote from a supplier. They've just gone into administration, we found out through Instagram, and that is because Missguided completely stopped speaking to their suppliers for 4 months. Suppliers turned up at their HQ, they wouldn't let them in. They stopped taking their emails, calls, everything. And then I just have this one here, Missguided by name, Missguided by nature. So I have about an hour before I need to leave. I'm gonna have some breakfast and then I'm gonna get ready. Always try and have like, I'm quite nervous, so I'm not that hungry, but very important to eat a good breakfast before something like this. I'm finally ready. I'm just going to quickly show you what I'm wearing, because the last time I co-organised a protest, I had a lot of people in the comments being like, I bet she's wearing fast fashion. I know you guys know that that wouldn't be the case, and if it was, it would be old, but I'm still going to show you my outfit. I'm wearing Max's matching set, which I am obsessed with. Got it secondhand, but the brand is originally Oliver Spencer. And then I'm wearing my crochet top, which you've seen lots and lots from Birdsong, who we adore. And then I'm just wearing my 7-year-old Converse, which are really standing the test of time well. Anyway, let's go.
Missguided, you must pay!
Missguided, you must pay!
Pay today! Pay today!
Pay today! Pay today!
One of Missguided's garment makers has not been sleeping because he is so anxious and worried about the fact that he has not been paid for work that he has already completed. Teneo, pay your workers!
Their wages! We want our wages! We want our wages! We want our wages!
Hello again, it's me from the future. I just wanted to include a 60-second quick roundup of what happened from this day. I hope you enjoy it, and do be sure to stay tuned to my Instagram, where I'll be sharing lots more digital actions to do with Missguided very, very soon. Bye, see you soon. Thanks for watching.
You may know that Missguided have recently gone into administration and they owe people in their supply chain millions for orders that have already been completed. I've co-organised some actions to help put the pressure on the people at the top, that's Missguided and their main investors, to ensure they pay their garment makers first. Come along with me.
Our first stop was Teneo, who are the main investors of Missguided. We stood outside their office, campaigning alongside garment makers and suppliers from Leicester who came down especially for this action. We finally managed to get through to them and handed over a letter to someone at Teneo. It was then time for our second action, this time in Mayfair at Altieri Investors. They put a lot of money into Missguided back in December and have a lot of power here. Tarek gave some incredible speeches. We rang the doorbells. We did a lap around the block to alert their neighbours to what is happening. We finally managed to get into Altieri's office, or just outside the door, left our placards and delivered another letter. Missguided must pay.